There has never been a time in the history of the church where everything was just so wonderful. There has always been ups and downs and challenges where the church has been challenged by all sorts of things. But now more than ever we are living in a very unique, complex environment. And the priest is in the midst of this.
That means that the task of a priest is particularly challenging because it's not easy to stand up and talk about values that many of your own contemporaries, many people perhaps in your own family, many people in your own parish community will no longer see the value of. And so a priest is going to be, in one sense, a bit lonely. He's going to be standing there talking about things and living things that are not commonly accepted in our society.
Today, in the media, in all walks of life, priesthood is not considered as something so valuable, so holy as before. Many people have become secularized and they don't care who is a priest, what is priesthood. When they see you, especially for me, many times I walk with my clerical shirt and people look at me. Sometimes they call me names.
Priesthood isn't held in the regard it once was in the wider community. In the Catholic community, in the parish, people are very supportive and are very concerned for their priests.
That attack on the church in our country is not the case necessarily in other places, but it is quite a challenge for priests. And so we have to be very strong in our vocation. We have to recognise that it happened to Jesus, it's going to happen to us, but always then to try and respond as Jesus would, and very especially in love, acknowledgement, understanding that people aren't tolerant, but we must be tolerant of people in their journeys and know their struggles and not just dismiss them, but really listen to them.
We need to show, not just by our words, but by our actions, that there is another way to live life, which is often going to be markedly different from the kinds of values that are just widespread in our society today.
Every age has its challenges for the Christian faith. So we have our challenge, and I think our challenge is particularly that there's a certain indifference to the big questions, indifference to questions of truth, indifference to the message, which is good news, which we have. So I think we have to find a way of breaking through the indifference and pointing people to the good news of Christ.
God still hasn't stopped calling people, and God has created every human being for himself, to be united with him, hopefully one day in heaven. And that need and that desire for God is still there, but it's more hidden in this day and age. People are less conscious of it.
One of the challenges of the priest of today is to make people understand that God has a place in their lives and that without God there is no future, there is no peace, there is no healing, there is no true happiness.
As priests, we walk with people, trying to help them see that God is at the centre of everything in life. Christ reveals the very meaning of life.
So whilst that's a challenge, it's also an opportunity, because as I say, God doesn't stop calling people and people don't stop needing God. So as a priest, it presents an opportunity for us to bring the face of God to the current culture yet again, and in new ways and in fresh ways. And that really is our call today as priests, to continue to share in Jesus' mission of bringing his good news into the world.
Sometimes people talk about conservative priests or progressive priests or traditional priests or liberal priests. I'm not overly keen on those kinds of categories. What I think is important is that we have faithful priests. And as long as I've got faithful priests around me, as long as our people have faithful priests at their service, we can be very hopeful for the future of our church.